guys, welcome to the TNA Throwback, and it's episode 52. We are already in the new year, so coincidentally the show I'm gonna review is the go home show for the Genesis pay-per-view. So right now it turns into a TNA 11 throwback instead of a TNA 10 throwback, so we've gone over this 2010 year. So this is what happened on last week's show. We got Flair returning and directly challenging the Pope to a match with no bearing on the stipulation. So Bischoff decided to book it as a no DQ match. Then of course throughout the show we got some stuff happening. We got Carlito debuting by beating Low Key. We got Aries striking a deal with the Guns regarding his problems with Team Fight Club. We got Lito meeting with Flair after Lito actually won the $100,000 in the Christmas Battle Royal on the December 23rd edition of Impact. But Rick just doesn't want his money. Mr. Anderson faced Robert Roode. So yeah, we got the turn from AJ and Daniels and Cass. Now they're officially babyfaces fighting against the World Congregation. We got two singles matches that involve the tag team titles match at the Genesis pay-per-view. We got Kazarian, Styles and Daniels beating Devon, Creed and Jordan in a 6-man tag. And in a main event, the Pope beat Ric Flair after Brian Hebner, of course, played a major role. Brian Hebner is the heel faction's main referee, who of course screws up all the baby faces. So after the match, we got the World Congregation trying to injure Flair, but Angle and Lito made the save. So Flair didn't follow the same fate as Sting and Steiner. So of course this is the new Impact we're gonna review. Is the January 6th Impact, the first Impact of the year, and the go home show to the January 9th Genesis pay-per-view. So the Pope opened the show with his old buddies from the Congregation, Devon, Creed and Jordan, and bragged about beating Flair. Angle and Lito came out, they interrupted them, and they challenged the Pope and Devon to a no DQ for tonight. Since, of course, at the pay-per-view, Angle will challenge the Pope for the title, while Lito will go for the Devon's global title in a rematch. Pope accepted. He reminded Angle their contract signing is taking place tonight, and Bischoff is the enforcer. So then we head back to the announcer's table where TNA announced that Joe Anderson will take on Beer Money tonight, but Anderson is the first guest on Carlito's Cabana, which takes place on this show. So then we had a tag match. Magnus and Rob Terry defeated Crimson and Tomko when Tomko got distracted and pinned. Then we got an announcement where Taz will announce that Devon will face Jay Lito in a tables match for the global title at Genesis. Then we got a backstage segment where Crimson will talk to Morgan and he will tell him to think twice about teaming up with Tomko. So of course the whole storyline here is to, I guess, get Morgan out of this tag team, since Tomko has been on a losing streak and he's been dragging him down, so their experiment as a tag team is close to over. And I'm using Crimson as kind of a advisor, or kind of, they're still having the 6-man tag at the pay-per-view, so Crimson, Morgan and Tomko are still gonna face the British Invasion at the pay-per-view. But after this, I believe I will probably pull Crimson out of this program and do something with Morgan, probably turn him heel. We're gonna see what will happen with him. But I think it's time for Morgan to kind of go for some sort of a singles competition. Then we got Kazarian beating Creed in a singles match, sending a message to Jordan. So at the pay-per-view we'll have Kazarian taking on Orlando Jordan. Then we have Carlito's Cabana. Carlito, of course, will do his usual shtick. He'll taunt Anderson. He'll talk about him losing the world title to the Pope in a controversial fashion. Of course, Carlito is a heel, so Carlito will take a cheap shot at Anderson and he will lay him out, which will tie in the storyline, because Anderson is supposed to team up with Joe to take on Beer Money, but Anderson is going to be laid out by Carlito in this Carlito's Cabana. So after this, we're going to have Joe taking on Beer Money on his own in a handicap match, and of course he's going to lose when Anderson fails to show up. So the match for the pay-per-view is going to be Joe and Anderson against Beer Money, because on this show it just wasn't possible because Carlito ruined the match. Carlito took away Anderson from the match. Then we got Eric Young defeating Alex Shelley via Homicide's distraction. Aries and Sabin will make the save, and this will build up to the other six-man tag at the pay-per-view, which is Shelley, Sabin, and Aries taking on Team Fight Club. The Pope came out with Bischoff, and he sat comfortably waiting for Angle to sign the contract papers. Angle, of course, you got the promo saying that the Pope's title reign is coming to an end, and Bischoff better not pull any tricks, and of course Bischoff will tell Angle that the referee for the match is going to be Brian Hebner. So we can expect a screw job. Then we got six-man tag, Joaquin Velvet, Madison Rain will defeat Angelina Love, Taryn Terrell, and Tara. And by the way, I always liked the angle where we got an evil referee on the evil faction side, because this actually saves so much trouble. When you already have a biased referee, if somebody watched Shikara, when they had the BDK angle in 2010, they got a heel referee which constantly bailed them out from matches. And when you got a heel referee, you don't have to do constant cheating or inside cradles or roll-ups or pulling the tights. You can just have the evil referee do his job to build heat for the match. Of course, you can't do that. You can't do this for every match, but you can do this for the important matches, so the heels will retain the titles and they can lose the other matches. Then we got Angelina chasing off Gail. She'll vow to regain her title in a street fight. Then we had a tag match before the pay-per-view. Jeff Hardy and RVD will beat Homicide and Hernandez, but after the match they will get assaulted by Abyss and Gunner, who will hit them with the World Tag Titles. These guys are having a World Tag Team Titles match at the pay-per-view. Before the main event, we are going to show Angle exchanging a few words with Lito. He'll thank him for having his back tonight. And in the main event, Angle and Lito are going to beat the Pope and Devon, when Lito will pin Devon ahead of the pay-per-view. Of course, the idea here is to give Lito a win before the pay-per-view. I've already told you guys I have big plans for Lito. That's why I split him up from Flair, because I don't think he needs Flair anymore. He's gonna receive a big time push in the probably next few months, but we need to do it slow. We can't really be rushing to it. So after the match, the Pope will bail. He raised his world title, and Angle and Lito are gonna celebrate. And this is the go home show for the Genesis pay-per-view, which is on Sunday, which is in the next episode. So I don't really have anything more to say. We got a sort of a transitional pay-per-view, but the matches on the pay-per-view are not this bad to think about it. So kind of excited. We already turned the page and we are into the new year. I always hate booking November and December, kind of like the last months of the year. Now it's January, it's fresh. We can kind of start a build up to the lockdown pay-per-view, which is on April 17th. So we got Against All Odds next month, we got Victory Road in March, and then we got Lockdown. And the build to Lockdown starts here. This is the second biggest pay-per-view of the year for TNA. So this is for this episode. We're gonna see each other on the next episode, which is the Genesis pay-per-view.